This was the fifth one-day international, India versus West Indies from Thiruvananthapuram. Here we are on Cricbuzz Live, 50 overs aside, and we didn't get 50 overs in the match. Just under 47 overs and the game is over. And you need to ask yourself, there was a team that came and started the series, made 322, 321, 283, should have won the second, just about tied it, won the third. And then what happened is the same side that played game number 4, and even today, just 104, the West Indies were hurtling down a cliff, desperately searching for a net. It wasn't there. And then India knocked off those runs in 14 and a half overs. And towards the end, you got the impression Rohit Sharma was just having fun. 63 not out of 56, Kohli 33 not out, India winning by 9 wickets. And therefore the series 3-1. Now you can see why it's so frustrating being a West Indies fan. I mean, look at it from India's point of view. India just showed why one team is where it is on the ranking and the other is where it is. But it must be so frustrating being a West Indies fan. You see glimpses of form and that's all you see.
It is frustrating, but also they've shown some good signs as well, which they can build on. When start of the series, everyone were expecting West Indies not really going to compete in the series against the mighty Indians, but something which stood out is they have the potential to do that. They have the side which if the right kind of confidence is given to certain players. You've seen Shai Hope playing that anchor role well. You've seen the intent from the whole batting unit, which was a delight to watch in the first few games. Created scenarios where they could win matches. You've seen the power of Hetmeyer. You've seen the evolved captaincy of Jason Holder, which was another positive which I felt. You've seen some good debutants in O'Shane Thomas and McCoy, both impressed in terms of the talent and the potential which they have, which the team can build on. So it's really up to just the side figuring out a way of winning matches and achieving that consistency.
Or post Pune, Ajay, did India not allow them to get moving? Did India suddenly play like a vastly more accomplished side and said, right, we decide how the series is going from here on?
Yeah, it should have been like that through the series, but after Pune, what happened is we get to Mumbai, and you first bat well, you put that huge score. So that was a change from the Indian side, and then those 2 run-outs. I think that really changed, because what Zach was referring to also was somebody holding the innings, whether it was Hope.
Absolutely. It was 1-1, by the way, those 2 run-outs. They could go down as a turning point in the series.
So that after those 2 run-outs, 1 quick wicket, Bumrah coming back, that made a big difference. So they just couldn't get off to that start for that platform to be there for Hetmeyer and everybody else to just follow, and then the tail wagging every time. So I thought that was the big turning point, and once you got that game in bag, and this was a different wicket. I think this is one wicket where I could say that the skills of West Indians batting was not capable enough to give you a fight on a pitch like this.
It's interesting you say that, because you look at the series. Kohli made 300s, Rohit was brilliant, Ambati Rayudu cemented number 4 by the looks of it just now, and yet you casually let it drop the return of Bumrah. The return of Bumrah probably had a big part to play in the series turning around and becoming one-sided, because he was bowling those great spells up front.
Absolutely, but when it mattered, team put up those runs as well. So that when actually, if you look at Bumrah's comeback match, he bowled brilliantly. He's been bowling super, but the result was not in favor of the Indian team. So that's something which at CC, at the Brabant Stadium, the platform of 377 runs to defend, suddenly the game was different.
4 for 35. Let's go down through the series, because really this was such a terribly one-sided match. It's one of those referees talked about kind of games. Just 105, India knocking them off in under 15 overs. So let's go through the series. What were the big pluses for India? We knew that Rohit had another great series, Virat had another great series. From the batting point of view, was Ambati Rayudu the big plus?
I think so, because these top 3 which have been consistently scoring runs and providing that platform has been the case for the last 2-3 years now. So that's something, the main concern, the main question was around the middle order, that number 4, number 5 spot, where Rayudu scored that brilliant 100. So that's something which was certainly a positive going forward for the Indian team. And Kuldeep, I think Kuldeep has been very consistent with his wicket taking ability, which is very crucial in the middle overs.
Raidu you're happy Raidu number 4 on a long-term basis from
I'm happy with Raidu. He's that kind of a player that, of course, number 4 as you mentioned, but he could bat at 5, 6. He's done that in the past, so he could bat at 3. You don't need an opener. I mean, I'm saying even 3, you don't need anybody. But he's that kind of a player. He's got the versatility of a batsman to adapt himself to the conditions, especially what number he's batting. Maybe he doesn't have that kind of skill of. I'm yet to see him dominate in a game where the ball's seaming around.
Yeah.
England and would be a different game.
Yeah, but England will be flat.
Yeah.
Nowadays you have very flat pitches in England anyway.
So when you generally try and build a side which can play on decent tracks. A track like today was a one-off thing. But if you're working towards the World Cup, what you need to remember is that it's only one-off that can knock you out. You could be in the quarters or semis and finals. South Africa was the greatest side at least at one time.
This is a better World Cup though, in that you play 9 games and then there's a semi-final and a final, so only 2 knockout games in this format. As it was when you played the 92 World Cup. It's pretty similar.
92 was pretty similar. I think which is a very fair thing because you play against all teams.
Nobody can complain
that you play against each other and it's out of 8 or 10 teams, only 4 qualify. But that's what I'm saying. So that qualification is something that I'm not really worrying with this Indian team today. So your worry starts once the knockout comes. And what if on a day you get a pitch which is different? Doing something or
maybe it's swinging around a lot.
Or it's rained overnight. So it's always good to have a side which is got ability to adapt to different conditions rather than just stick to one.
Now, on the assumption that Dhoni was going to be number 5 and that Dhoni will be number 5 till the World Cup, and we'll talk about that. The key batting positions that he needed to fill were 4 and 6. You're happy with Kedar Jadhav at 6? Going all the way. I mean, he didn't have much to do after he came.
Exactly. So as an option, you would want that 6 bowling option, and you
so
have
that
that 6 bowling option in Kedar Jadhav. So that's something which adds that cushion. So if you're talking about the World Cup and the composition of the squad, I'm not talking the playing 11, but I think you would certainly be happy to have Kedar Jadhav to provide that option.
Yeah, because you're looking at what 15. You want a 6th bowling option, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But you also want number 7, 8 to bat. So from that point of view, number 7, did we learn enough? Ravindra Jadeja, number 7? He's done everything I've asked of him. Today he did all right.
Look, he's an outstanding fielder, so that's nothing new with bowling. And if you give him a wicket like this where there's help, whether it's 2020, one-day cricket, test match cricket. So he's not a test match bowler as everybody is starting to look at. He's a bowler that bowls accurately. Yeah. You give him help in that pitch, he'll make the most of it. And his batting has improved. I think what has been most heartening, not just this series, he hasn't had many opportunity in this series, but in the Asia Cup, even at that last test match that he played, I think he's made a big leap forward with his batting. He's shown more sensibility, he's hung around. He's taken the game till the end in Asia Cup. There were a couple of close games. And he was hanging around, which is something that I hadn't seen in the past.
I mean, if you're looking for batting depth, it is something that India struggled in the early part of the series with Bhuvi at 7. If you're looking for batting depth, and if you can have Hardik playing at 7 and Ravindra Jadeja at 8, then you've got as much batting as you need. But can you see both of them playing together with Jadhav at 6, Hardik 7, Jadeja 8, then one more spinner and 2 quicks? Do you see a side?
Well, in English conditions, that can be an option, but it will all depend on what kind of conditions the team is playing in. So that's something which is a call which the management will have to take and it will always be related to how your top order is shaping up. If your top order is struggling, then you would want that cushion at the back. But if you're producing these kind of results which you've seen in Rohit and Virat, if they are in that kind of a form, then actually it doesn't matter, because you look at Kedar Jadhav also in this tournament right now. This series he didn't have much to do with
he didn't bowl any hardly batted.
Yeah, so that's something which the pressure is taken off by your top 4 now, because Raidu also contributed superbly to getting to par scores. So that's something which is very subjective to what kind of conditions you are playing in and what kind of form your top order is.
So when Kedar Jadhav goes back home to Pune and his family says, "Kai re kasa zala?" He'll say, I batted 7 balls and didn't bowl, which reminds me a lot of my first year in the school team. He batted 7 balls and didn't bowl. I can see why he started moving up from 6 if you're batting number 6 in a strong lineup.
Yeah.
But what about these two? Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. We knew at the start of the series that they're going to dominate. It was just another series, isn't it? Just another series where they dominate. You look at the number of runs that they made. Now Virat Kohli's made 453. That's a lot of runs in a 5-game series.
Yeah.
Strike rate is also something to look at. The average, of course, takes care of itself.
I mean, these are special players. I mean, these are two players which is almost reminds me of a scene in Wakar time. You know, they it actually looks like they're both competing when they're batting with each other. One trying to better the other, and which is wonderful for Indian cricket. The problem is for the bowlers on the other side. But the dependency that we have on them at this moment, I think, is far greater than it should be, because what ends up is like you had this whole series go. Guys batting at 5-6, Kedar, you mentioned Mahendra Singh Dhoni, Ravindra, they don't get in games. So if you're going to start playing like this through the World Cup, I mean, just presuming that we get to that semi-final, and they're humans as well, they may be the greatest players in the world. If something goes wrong, the others have not even got a chance. So I thought in this series we lost an opportunity to use all these 5 games to get somebody back in form or get players to play.
So would you have had a Kedar Jadhav going up the order, maybe the odd game?
In
Dhoni
fact,
going
day 1 when we were here and there was 70 runs to get with 8 wickets in hand, it was a day young Rishabh Pant made his debut in one-day cricket.
Yeah.
70 runs to get, many overs left. Those are opportunities that you need to use. You unleash him there. What happens? If he gets out, he gets out. So if you believe that a man can get you out of trouble when you're 5 down and he's capable of taking you through, how can it be possible that he's not capable of taking you through when the situation's easy? It's always the other way around it's looked. Your best players bat at the top, and your weaker players generally bat numbers behind, which is how it should be. But we expect them to actually go out there and do things that even the top guys can't do.
Yeah.
Because top guys don't get out when it's 5 and over, 7 and over, weak bowling attacks. So they don't get out. They get out on days when it's trouble, like you saw with West Indies today. Hitmyer, Hope, they've all had great opportunities when the wicket was flat. But when the wicket was doing something, they were all gone, and then you were left with Jason Holder and the batsman there. Yeah. So I thought that opportunity that you missed to get these guys in. If you're playing Kedar Jadhav, if you're playing them, result is not something that you were worried. I mean, I thought this should have been the kind of play that would have happened throughout the series, whereas West Indies surprised all of us, at least me, and I'm happy about that. But you had this series to make use of it and find something new that you hadn't seen. So we end up again with your question that Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, they are the greatest players around in the world at the moment, and we saw that in this series, and we didn't go forward,
It's like someone asking a child, what did you learn at the end of the season? Ma'am, I learned that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. What do you learn at the end of a series? I learned that Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli are the lead batsmen.
So we didn't.
The big debate was about the wicketkeeper and captain. Now, it's very tough to debate a legend, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
And make no mistake, Mahendra Dhoni is 9,999 runs for India. He's made almost 6,500 runs batting at 5 and 6, which as you know better than anyone else, is very difficult. Almost in that 10,000 club.
Yeah.
Now look at where most of their runs have come. Tendulkar, Jayasuriya, Ganguly, Dilshan, all open. At number 3 you got Ponting. You got Sangakkara. Look at the number of runs there. Virat Kohli has made 8,000 runs at number 3. Even Kallis 7,500 at number 3. The only person in that list who's got a substantial number of runs at 5 and 6 is MS Dhoni. Even Inzamam, who's such a fine finisher, scored half his runs batting at number 4.
Yeah.
So that tells you what a special player he's been. Sometimes when you're batting at 5 and 6, your average goes up because of the not outs. But the number of runs you cannot
you
cannot
still have
argue
to
with.
get those numbers. I think he's our greatest one-day cricketer, at least in my lifetime. I would have said Kapil Bhaji is one that we grew up with. He probably attributed
And that other opener and partner of yours briefly.
No, of course.
Yeah.
No, he's a master. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, he's a master at everything. But if I had to just look at one-day cricket and say, if I had to pick somebody, I'd pick Mahendra Singh Dhoni for a sheer reason. I mean, numbers are telling you the story. He may not have the same numbers as Master 16,000. But those runs are, half those runs would be with the tail. Half those runs would be in troubled times. Very rarely would those runs be on flat tracks. because flat tracks, the number 6 never get in, not just this game. So he, for me, is always been
So
the
how
number
do you
one
debate
player.
a legend? How do you debate?
No, you don't. You
do you
just
measure
take
him
a
against
bow.
himself? Because the easiest thing in the world
Yeah.
is to say that a legend decides when he quits. But that's not fair, because the selectors have to decide when he quits. The
Yeah.
legend's got to decide how much longer he is going to play. The selectors have to take a call on whether he's still good. Now, at the start of the series, we had the debate. Have we learned anything over these 5 games? I mean, he only batted thrice, he made 50, couple of times he batted right at the end. His keeping was as good as it's ever been. Now there's only 13 games to go before the first game in the World Cup. So you have to assume that you're going through all the way with him. So there's no point having a debate. Or
Yeah,
do you
so
want have a
to
debate?
me there is no debate, because you
Yeah.
know, if he's been around for so long, you can't leave him out for World Cup, you know, and he is going to play a crucial part. And like I was saying earlier as well, you know, it's not only what the runs are showing or what kind of form he is in at the moment. When you mentioned about legends, okay, so legends always have that one trick up their sleeves, which they will use at the right time with the right kind of platform, and that's something, you know, which you've seen with MS also in IPL. You know, how he announces his comeback to IPL with the team which he really enjoys playing for, and captains
Yeah,
and
fabulous
controls most of
IPL,
the thing.
by the way, should we
exactly.
forget.
So World Cup is that kind of a tournament. You know, World Cup brings out the best in each and every individual when you're taking part in World Cup. So I'm sure, you know, he's got that one trick up his sleeve for saving, especially for the World Cup. You know, so that I'm not concerned about how it's going to be and all that. But it's important that the kind of presence which he has around the dressing room, the kind of presence he had on the cricket field, that is going to play a huge role, because you know, World Cup is not only you're going there and playing cricket, it's beyond that. It's the pressure of expectations, is the pressure of situations which you have to deal with, and you have to take that call with that presence of mind. And that's where all the experience, all the learnings which you have right throughout your career comes handy, and that's something you're going to have someone playing in the real time, providing you that kind of guidance in the.
Now, there's
the
been a
field.
lot of talk about Bhuvneshwar Kumar and how he needs to play more cricket and whether he needs to get more cricket in. Does Dhoni need to play more cricket? Because between one-day internationals, so now the next one-day international is on the 12th of January. We are now 1st of November. Dhoni doesn't play any cricket for 2.5 months. Should he actually be playing some form of cricket in between, just to have more balls in the middle, maybe go out and bat at 4 for Jharkhand, but the limited overs leg is over? Do you think he should go and play in the Ranji Trophy, bat at 4? How does he stay match fit between now and January?
Look, I felt that he should play as much as he can, but looks like the selectors think differently. You know, in this series we said, well, what have we gained and what have we lost? I think we've lost a Mahendra Singh Dhoni as a player in 2020 cricket, and thanks to those selectors. And I think it's up to how, you know, Zach just explained how he would look at Mahendra Singh Dhoni. So selectors, each selector, everybody puts in their heart, they do the best that they can. But you only say, when you ask me a question, I look at it the way I see it. So these selectors probably don't look at anything beyond the numbers and what everybody else outside world is talking. If they were looking at Mahendra Singh Dhoni the way Zach just explained, that the contribution of this man in that side is not just the numbers that he's providing to you, there may be a lot more. So if you value that, then he would have probably been playing 2020 cricket as well, and would have answered that question saying that he needs more cricket. Because I absolutely believe that he needs more cricket, because a form of a batsman or a bowler cannot come if you're not playing games. With Bhuvneshwar Kumar, he said that if he's fit, if he's not got an injury, he should play more cricket. With bowlers, it's okay, you can go back to domestic cricket and bowl, because see, it's an action, it's not a reaction. Whereas as a batsman, it's always a reaction. So what conditions you are playing in, what opposition you are playing, what pressures you are, makes a huge difference. So domestic cricket is not somewhere where I would expect Mahendra Singh Dhoni to go back and find his touch or form. It has to be at the international level, because it's the mind. Because over the years, the technique has been the same. He's changed a little bit, which happens to every player. So anybody who wants to get back into form, there is no other way but to get into the nets.
And you can't get into form or just feel good by hitting balls of a bowling machine.
You can. And again, it depends on an individual. There are people who find knocking early in the morning very important, like Master we were just talking about. He's one of those who, you know, needed a few balls in the morning to get his cradle going. If he got it 6 balls, he was ready. Then there's Jam, or say Sidhu was one of our friends. He needed 2 hours of batting before nets. He would leave before the team and he would wanted that. So they are individuals, they work differently, but it is at the end it's that moment that has to click with your mind and your body that everything's in sync now. And each individual finds it differently, and I doubt that he can find it in that domestic cricket. He had to play. There is no way he should have been dropped. I mean, if he's rested, I haven't heard, but it's a very simple call. It's been made. A call's been made by the selectors.
He's not rested.
No, he's not, and I have nothing against that, because as you said, he's a legend. He will always be a legend. Every legend is been selected or dropped by people who probably didn't play as much as them or didn't have that experience.
Okay, their job is
their
job is to assess.
So, but their job is to select, not to reject. That's my only worry. See, when Sachin Tendulkar was picked, if you go back to that selection committee, didn't have many test matches in that. The chairman at that time was Raj Singh ji, who hadn't played international cricket, but there was a vision and a thought, and they would go with it. Whereas at the moment what we are seeing is just numbers, and somebody doesn't get there, there's a debate, there's a conversation in the media, and then it puts pressure on them, and there you are.
Because the truth is, however big a legend you are, your game does decline with age,
No
because
doubt.
sport is so physical.
Yeah.
You can be intellectually very sharp, but sport is also very physical. If sport was all about intellect and knowing where to bowl, Zach would be India's #1 bowler today.
Yeah. No, and
But sport
everybody
is
has-
also very physical.
and everybody
Yeah,
has
but
to go.
So
it
Dhoni
also, I
is,
feel,
Dhoni is not the player that he was, but he is still good enough. That is the whole debate that's raging in India.
Yeah, but in terms of preparation, once again, I'm not really concerned about that. If it's an individual call. If he needs match practice, he himself will go and find that practice. He'll go and play domestic cricket if he wants to. If it's his responsibility to make himself fit, to make himself in a
Match
position
fit, yeah.
where he is able to deliver the goods, what is expected of him. So that's something which has to be an individual call. In terms of the selection in the squad, or how they are looking at it, in different format, like 50-over format, let him just focus on 50-over format, and T20 format is a different kind of format, and let's just try Rishabh Pant now in that and see how he goes. Give him maximum opportunities. That is also fine. It's about how he's going to use his time to make sure that if it's physical, then he has to work on that. If it's mental, he has to work on that, and he will find a way of getting himself ready for the big battle.
Since we are at the debate about, when he said about Rishabh Pant, legend, we're leaving that, we're not even going into that thing. When you want to replace somebody, there's only two reasons why you replace somebody. You replace somebody because you found somebody who's come better. The next generation, there will be somebody better. So who's it? Rishabh Pant at the moment in this lot, in this whole debate. Or you think the person who's been playing, whether we're discussing him or anybody else, is not doing well enough.
Yes.
The others who were around are better. You had Parthiv Patel come back twice. You had Dinesh Karthik picked and dropped twice. You had KL Rahul keep wickets and go in and out. So there isn't anybody that the team management or the selectors have thought, look, now Zach's time is over. Now let's get somebody else to bowl.
Not Rishabh Pant?
No, so I'm saying Rishabh Pant played in this game. The last two games Rishabh Pant played, you've dropped him in place of who? Kedar Jadhav. So if somebody tells me tomorrow that if I have a choice between Kedar Jadhav or a player who's out of form, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, I doubt that anybody would pick Kedar Jadhav ahead of Mahendra Singh Dhoni. If that time has come, then there will be no debate. Then it will be over by then. I'm saying who's the option you have? When you find an option, I'm not saying whether he's good or not. Even the selectors have to believe that this person is better than him. Then you pick it and change the whole side. How can it be that you don't have an option just because that gentleman who was capable of delivering an X is not delivering X and it's X less. But the next guy is like 10 miles behind.
Is that what you think? That Rishabh is 10 miles behind?
No, Rishabh, I feel Rishabh should be batting up the order. He should be batting at 4.
Playing as a batsman?
Yes, of course. He's your finest player at the moment.
But he will be in the World Cup squad anyway. I mean,
Yeah, but you dropped him in 2 games and you brought back Kedar Jadhav and Ravindra to play at 7.
We brought Jadhav back because India was struggling with 5 bowlers. And
so that's what I'm saying. The number places, Mahendra Singh Dhoni is not a number man again. He is capable of batting at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Is he still capable? That's a debate. Is he still
we
capable?
haven't seen him bat at 3 and 4. When did you last see him at 4?
No, so should he? Because you've got Kohli at 3, you've got Raidu now at 4.
At the start of the
Oh,
season.
that number 4 thing which I've been mentioning for a while.
You want
now.
him to bat at 4 still?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I don't think it makes such a
We are
difference
both
that
on
Raidu bats
I
at 4
still
or 5.
think that he should be batting number 4.
4 and Raidu at 5, therefore.
Yeah.
And not now, for last couple of months. So I think wherever I have had the opportunity, I always believe he has to bat up the order because it takes that much longer to get in. And with that experience, it is better for you to get him in early. The younger players can do things at the end much better because there's no pressure, they can throw their bats. Mahendra Singh Dhoni has to take responsibility of everybody. As you get more responsible, you should have more time.
See, one of the things with with debating a legend is that you also take a lot of time over him because you got
Because you got to be careful in words that you use and how you, because we would understand, but it would be snapped up in a little snippet and it goes as a different way and then it just makes
No, that's
story.
a different format
No,
and a different channel.
no, others do
Here
it.
we let people speak and complete their argument.
No, I'm saying they would pick it up because somebody
I know.
would want to write an
I know,
article,
I know.
would pick up, Zaheer Khan says Dhoni is not the same. That's all, and the rest of the article will be his own. So he'll take it up from there. So I think we all have responsibility as well. We have the opportunity to sit here and share our thoughts, but we do have some responsibility, don't we?
Of course.
It is such a batting game, this, that we spend so much time talking about batsmen. So let's move from the man whose autobiography will be called Batting at Number 6 to, and but he moved up to 5, played a lot of his cricket 5 and 4 as well. The bowling, are you happy with where the bowling is? Because I think the core of the World Cup squad is already here. I think the team that you'd pick for the World Cup today will not be too different from the team that you will pick on, say, in April, in April or May. So are you happy with the bowling as it stands at the moment? Or do you think that maybe Khalil is raw, that maybe you wanted to see more of Umesh Yadav, or maybe you want to see more of Shami, who's actually got a decent one-day record?
Well, I think you rightly said about Umesh. Umesh should be playing more and more matches. If you're looking at him to be part of the World Cup squad and providing you that backup as well, because it's a long tournament as well. The World Cup 50-60 days. So that's something which is very important to have your bases covered. So from that point of view, yes, very happy with Bumrah. He's come off the break which he's got. Didn't look like he was on a break at all. It's just beautiful rhythm going.
It's wonderful to be young
at the moment. Bhuvneshwar Kumar, I think, needs more time, game time. Bowling fitness needs to go up. That's something which we've seen from the series. From the spinners, Kuldeep has been fantastic. That's something which is very important for Indian team to be successful. That his form also keeps going the same way right through and through to the World Cup. Chahal needs some work, like we've spoken about him being little slow on the field as well. Not really getting through the crease the way he's been, and needs to think wickets more when he's approaching his bowling. Khalil, happy with
I didn't want to interrupt you, but Virat Kohli said at the press conference that God forbid if anything happens to Bhuvi or Bumrah, we've got a young kid like Khalil to take wickets. That's what the captain is saying.
He needs more confidence. His confidence needs to be boosted right through and through, and he needs to be spoken a lot. I feel that when you're new at international cricket, you are actually everything is a celebration. Every event, whether you bowled a ball, you go into bat, you go in the nets, everywhere there is a different kind of energy, and in that you can lose the focus as well at times, because everything is good. So the right things needs to be said, so that the process of evolving yourself, the process of keeping that performance going becomes simplified. So that's something
Ajay,
which is very important with Khalil.
Is he a third seamer ahead of Umesh and Shami?
If you want to play a defensive third seamer, maybe. That you could, how it all depends on the captain, how he wants to take his side. I mean, there have been sides in the past, their main bowler would come in and bowl number 3 or 4.
Yeah. Alan Donald did that. Dale Steyn did that.
Yeah, a lot of them did that. So it depends how you want to use him, because he's definitely got a little bit skill. He bowls those slower ones. He does things that probably Umesh Yadav and Shami don't do it. But right at the top, I'm a big fan of both of them. I would not go to England if I had a choice to go with Shami with Umesh Yadav and Bumrah, these would be my first 3 bowlers, because you need bowlers who pick wickets.
In
You
the white ball, in 50 over cricket as well.
Absolutely. You get to the World Cup, you get to knockout cricket. Knockout cricket, those 10 little dots make more difference than 4s and 6s. The pressure is totally different when you get to that knockout stage. So if I have a bowler who can pick wickets, and I would want to have 5 pure bowlers first, because we were talking about that you need to have 5 pure bowlers. Look at this series, look at last year, look at entire history of one-day cricket. Every game, 5 bowlers finish their quotas. Total is 110, you don't use your batsman.
In fact, good you mentioned that, because in that great run,
Yeah.
even in 2015, India got to the semi-final, but India took 70 wickets.
Yeah. So
in the run up to that, yeah.
So I am a firm believer that you got to have 5 bowlers. Your best 5 bowlers need to play, whether they can bat or they can't.
Is Khalil in your best 5?
Uh,
On the everything that you've seen so far?
it's unfair to a young man for me to make a judgment, because I've only seen him 2-3 games. He's a sensible bowler, but he's not in my top 4-5 wicket-taking fast bowlers that India at the moment have the opportunity to pick from.
We don't have to pick that just now, because there's 13 games to
Yeah.
go.
I think it's the New Zealand tour that you should have your best tour, because you will know exactly the conditions would be the same. Very similar to what English conditions
It's
are.
interesting you say the conditions are same, because there was
Similar.
a time when they were similar,
Yeah.
because the pitches were similar. Now both are flat.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So the atmosphere or
correct.
the temperature, the kind of grounds that you have. With England also, you don't have round grounds. Every ground that you're going to play has a different way of approaching a game there, different boundaries. So if anything that comes close to creating a similar simulator kind of thing, I think it's the New Zealand tour, those one days, that we really should be sure that that's our side ready to go. Because, and if there is something that you need to change, then, because these games are not going to show you anything. Australia is going to be a different game.
In fact, the interesting thing is the last 5 games you play are in India. So you get 3 games in Australia. Would you go with what Ajay is saying, that you make up your mind on the World Cup, on your ideal World Cup 15 or 16 at the end of the Australia series, and then play the next 10 with combinations of those?
It's heading that way. And I think if you
I think actually we've got 12, 13 already.
Yeah, so you look at the squad also, like the playing 11 and the people who are injured, people who are going to be who have been regular fixture of playing 11 for Indian team, you would expect them to come back. So pretty much I think the squad is going to sort itself out in the due course. By the time that Australia series, one-day series is finished, you yourself will know that these are the other players who will be going. If someone is not part of that, then that will be a topic of debate rather than who is part of it.
I think you've got 3 spinners as well now. I think you'll go to England with 3 spinners. So if anything, Jadeja proved his all-round worth over here. So either of him or Hardik Pandya can now bat at 7. So at least you've got 2 options.
Yeah,
to play
I think
that
at the moment
7
India
role.
has too many options to pick from. They're not sure how they want to go about.
You want to see a bit more
play.
Hardik Pandya, though. You want to see him recover and come back and get a few games behind him.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. I mean, although he hasn't done what we all expect him to do, but he's improved in a manner which makes you happy. He's lost out on his fitness. He hasn't bowled, or his bowling might struggle. But I think it's batting that I enjoy, and I think his batting has that ability to take the game away from the opposition. And I am a big fan of those kind of players who would make an impact on that day, because there's no player.
He's plus 10 in the field as well. He's a magnificent
Because there's no
athlete.
player
He's
in the
plus
world
10.
who, as a batsman, who succeeds every time. Leave Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma out at the moment, but generally batsmen, average every 10 innings you get them to score 6 times is a good number. So so on those 6 times you should be able to take your team through, and he is one of those, and he can be batting anywhere in that order.
Right. So we had 16 players picked in this 4th and 5th one day. That is pretty much the core of the side that we think will go to England.
Yeah.
Now, there's a Manish Pandey in there. We're not looking at reserve batsmen still in there. There's a Manish Pandey in there. There's a Rishabh Pant in there, and there should be a Lokesh Rahul somewhere in there.
Yes.
So there's Lokesh Rahul for Shikhar Dhawan as the backup, maybe the third opener there. Maybe if you want a backup to number 4, they pick Manish Pandey so far. Maybe they'll go with Manish, continue with him going ahead at number 4. So out of this, you're just looking at changing the fast bowlers, you think, and Hardik coming back in?
Hardik coming back in and a couple more fast bowlers.
Yes.
I think
So the
surely
batting core is ready, you think?
will be discussed, and you have to discuss Aksar as well, because he's been part of the squad for the longest time. It's just that Jadeja has come back, and then he's just
Injuries so often
been
come at a wrong
consistent
time.
with his performance. So I think when you're looking at the pool of players who are going to be crucial when it comes to selecting the World Cup squad, there will be 20-25, I think, and that other things depends on how the form is, what kind of physical fitness status of this list is, and that's something which will sort itself out as the World Cup is coming closer. But all in all, I think these 25 players which we are looking at are going to be part of the World Cup scenario.
So there, what did we learn after 5 games? Right? The people who made the biggest moves up were Ambati Rayudu and Ravindra Jadeja. About the others, we pretty much knew what to expect. So 2 big moves up for India. India's got, as we keep saying, 13 one-day games before the World Cup. We're now in November. The World Cup is in end of May. India actually play the first game, I think, on the 3rd of June. So there's still a long time, but these debates will continue because you're fans and we like to talk to you. So that's what happens. So they're a pretty one-sided game, you could say. So one-sided that everyone's going home for dinner. There's a joy factor too. They need a joy factor. So let's see how many of you got it right. Let's see who got it right first. Here was the question that we had on the joy factor. Which former World Cup captain, we'll hold that for a while, which former captain has a record for the most ineffective bowling in the tournament? Now 432 balls, you divide that by 6, 6 sevens are 42, 12, that's 72 overs. 72 overs without taking a wicket. Which former World Cup captain? Now, as I said, it could either be a batsman who bowls a little bit, but that's a lot of overs to bowl for a part-timer. So let's see what the answer was. The answer was back in 75 and 79. Now, I must tell all the people at Cricbuzz, whatever happens, make sure that Mr. Venkatraghavan does not see this. India's captain in 75 and 79. So there you are. Let's see who won it. Mr. Venkatraghavan is known to have a fiery temper. He's a fantastic cricketing brain, but he's known to have a temper. This is back, of course, in 75 and 79, when India were just finding their way around. 60 overs cricket, remember? And between those 2 World Cups, India only won 1 game against East Africa in 1975. And East Africa was just a collection of friendly club cricketers from East Africa, from Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, whatever. So let's see who won it. Let's see who won it. Here it comes. Shivam Uttam at Uttam Shivam. Yeah, Shivam Uttam at Uttam Shivam. Well done. So joy factor, Uttam Shivam. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live is, of course, what you had to put in. Ajay Jadeja is very upset that what would you want to give him as a prize?
No, the
you
prize,
got pictures?
Yeah, we were going to give that picture of
autograph.
He autographs it and he gives it because it's his picture. I'm just the photographer. And there's one of yours as well, which we'd like to share.
No, not that. I'm all right being here. I must warn you that when you go on tour with Ajay Jadeja, you have breakfast with him, you go to the game, maybe you have dinner, and then when the iPad and the picture camera comes out, you excuse yourself very quickly because you got the snag of taking candid pictures. So we'll rest it at that. So thank you very much to Zaheer Khan and to Ajay Jadeja. I'm delighted we had this lovely, easy, free-flowing conversation as well. Tell us what you thought of it, so what you made of all the names that we discussed, because that's a great thing about the digital medium. It's so interactive, isn't it? So send in your reply at Cricbuzz or hashtag Cricbuzz Live, and you can be sure every one of those will be read. So there you are. The series has ended. The series has ended 3-1 with 1 tie. The West Indies will look back and think of what might have been wickets, and the batsmen had very little to do after that. So there you are. Thank you very much for joining us here on Cricbuzz Live. We will, of course, be with you for the 3 T20s. That's the 4th, the 6th, and then everybody goes away to burst green crackers between 8 and 10. And then we'll come back on the 11th to round it up. So do join us on Cricbuzz Live on the 4th of November. Till then, goodbye.